Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with Savage Unfiltered Podcast, TheLibertyBeacon.com, and I am your host, Joseph M. Lenard, and that's Lenard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. As Listen Notes says, there are 168.9 million plus podcast episodes available out there for you to listen to. So I really appreciate you tuning into mine. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show. Merry Christmas, everyone. When I say that, you may be tuning in ahead of Christmas. You may be tuning in after Christmas, considering we're at that time of the year. Everybody's busy with the holidays, so maybe you'll catch up later. Maybe you are listening because you need a break from all the craziness at the mall, if you still do that sort of thing, if you're out shopping at the mall. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 26. Year 2023 in review, part 2, of course, correlating with TheLibertyBeacon.com, piece by the same name. And the first item that I mentioned in the piece is crime and criminality. I have two pieces that I wrote for TheLibertyBeacon.com on that. Should be, duh, now I get it moment, but won't be for the left on crime and punishment, or their lack thereof punishing crime, and wondering why we're getting more of it. Duh! And the other being crime, criminals, and the left strained and lacking credulity on the subject. It is just unbelievable. To quote the Princess Bride, inconceivable! Since every generation seems to rediscover that movie, even the younger folks listening in or tuning in at JLenardDetroit YouTube and Rumble channel will get it. But it's inconceivable how these morons can't understand when you don't lock up criminals, they're free to commit more crimes. There may not be more criminals. Actually, there probably even are more criminals, because those on the fringe see, well, you're not locking up these recidivists, these people who commit crimes over and over and over again. Why shouldn't I steal stuff too then and get away with it? So yeah, there is more and more and more crime and more criminals committing crimes because we're not locking people up in certain blue counties. I won't say just blue cities, but mainly blue cities, but entire blue counties, even in red states, crime is up because the DAs, the Soros-funded DAs, aren't locking people up. So that's a pretty simple, easy subject to understand, but yet somehow it is not adding up to the left. And then the other thing is the ruling elite of the left don't care about you and if crime is happening in your neighborhood. 4 out of 5 Blacks, 80% in survey after survey after survey, show Blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, people who have pink polka dot skin, if there were such a thing, probably would chime in at 80% also, want more police protection, not less. Not less of it. This defund the police movement, they don't care, especially the white liberals, because they all live behind gated communities, have safe rooms in their house, have anything happens, they're covered usually 24/7 by their own private armed security. So they don't depend on the police. They don't care if it's there. They're there to protect you. And part of this is, as I've been saying forever, the left isn't happy with just weaponizing the FBI. They want to eliminate local police forces so they can create a new federalized police force, separate and apart from the FBI. Does that sound familiar? Gestapo? Are you familiar with that? Or what? Oh, the Stasi? Does that ring a bell to anyone? They want people who aren't loyal to we the people, who aren't from the local community and care about the local citizens. They want nationalized forces that are loyal to what? The deep state, the Sinos, the Rhinos, the Fascocrats, the deep state, not the uniparty, the deep state. There are plenty of good Republicans fighting. Are you? Are you fighting? Are you a Republican delegate? Don't complain if you're not in the party fighting, as we will go into more with Gunny, my guest today. So I'll leave that there. Another topic I will touch on in the year 2023 in review part 2 at TheLibertyBeacon.com, ranked choice voting. Now, I ranted and raved about that on season 1, episode 2. Please go back and listen to that, because there are some out there who only give you a small part of the picture. Yes, Alaska, mess, complete mess. That is not what ranked choice voting was ever intended to be. They had ranked choice open jungle primary. It's never intended to be that way. Ranked choice is used all over the nation, a lot of places, and you've never heard a peep or a complaint about it, because it's for a closed party primary where it belongs. So that if 80% of people like John Doe, but some of them vote for James Smith as their number 1, John Doe as their second, and others vote for John Doe as their second, but Hubert Humphrey as their number 1, none of them get the 50% needed. It's an instant runoff. Then John Doe gets the nomination, because guess what? 80% of the people like him. 80% of the people want to support him in a general election. John Doe is more electable. I'm going to just leave it at that. Please check out, of course, TheLibertyBeacon.com piece, or preferably season 1, episode 2. And I'm going to pretty much wrap it up for segment 1. This is just going to be brief, so we can get right to talking with Gunny, because other items aren't really a year in review. They go back to when I first started writing for TheLibertyBeacon.com, like today's federalism versus original intent federalists, and a republic if you can keep it. So please check out TheLibertyBeacon.com. Hopefully today, Saturday, I'm looking at my calendar, the 16th, December the 16th is when the show is to drop. Hopefully you get a chance to check out the article that day. Thank you all. And as I said, let's head on into segment 2 of the show. Thanks again for tuning in. I know you're busy with all the holiday stuff going on. Hey, gang, a brief interruption in the show about Christmas giving, kind of, sort of, or to ask, are you a coffee drinker? What about other coffee drinkers you know? It's indeed Christmas giving time, Hanukkah giving time. again, this being December now, I want to ask you, those coffee drinkers on your gift giving list, if I can get the words out correctly. What do you socks that'll get put in a drawer they forgot you gave them, a tie or a shirt that'll end up buried in the back of the closet they forgot you gave them? How about something useful like blackout coffee? Yes, I am partnering with Blackout Coffee. You can use promo code JOSEL20, Joseph for Joseph, L20 for 20% off. JOSEL20 promo code. Or better yet, I've created a shortcut, tinyurl.com/blackout coffees. And of course, blackout coffees all run together as one word, not three separate words. So again, tinyurl.com. I love using their shortcut services /blackout coffees. Should take you right in and automatically apply your 20% discount. So for yourself or for others, this Christmas, give Blackout Coffee something you know they're going to use, something they're going to enjoy, something that they then finally remember you and your gift every time they sip from the Blackout Coffee cup of coffee. Thank you all. Take care. God bless. Merry Christmas. Welcome to the show, Gunny of thepatriotcause.com. Welcome to the show, Gunny.
Thank you, sir. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Looking forward to helping patriots, real Americans, understand what the hell is going on in this country and what we can do to save it.
Yeah,
that's really the bottom line, which is what both of us are doing.
Exactly. You, like me, got fed up, and I've been involved in politics actually since 1978. So I've been fighting CINOs, rhinos, and fascocrats the majority of my being alive. But in 2022, I finally decided I need to just expand beyond Michigan politics, and why I released Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, to not just point out the threat of foreign terrorists, but domestic terrorists. And then even beyond that, my subsequent ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast now in June of this year, I started because I needed to take all of that even global, right? And the same as you, kind of back in August of 2020, tell us, you started the Patriot Cause for similar reasons.
Yeah, I did. And to give you a little background, I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, went all over the world, did things that, I didn't want to do, but, it's the way the world was.
God bless you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. And then I became a government employee. And I was involved in a lot of big budget projects, IT, all that kind of stuff. And I seen the tremendous waste of money that the government does. And not only that, what I found out becoming a chief information officer in the government was a lot of these individuals were not really working. They were just, in their pods, as I call them, right? And I got to a point, I'm like, got to get out of this world. And I did. And then I started realizing what was happening is the government in all branches, military, etc., we have left the American values of what America is and gone into this corporate global control. And then I started watching more and more and learning and researching that we have been infiltrated and controlled by communists in our country, in our government. And I don't care who you are as an American and your life that you live, but if you don't understand what communism is, then you're going to fall into that same response that all of these communist countries have done with their citizens. So I wanted to start a podcast to educate and bring out the details and the information that American patriots can understand. And I have this title or clause that I use, and I tell them, I do the research so you don't have to, right? Because the majority of the Americans will not do the research. They live their lives, and thankfully they do. They do their thing. They go to work, they come home, they watch TV. I get all that. But how can we reach out to American citizens and say, oh, by the way, did you know this is what's going on? And so this is why I started the podcast. And it's very interesting how my life has changed by doing that. And what I mean by that is I have to do more work in my everyday life to be part of this media world. And, in other words, I can't just live like a lot of Americans do. And I am very grateful for that, because I have been awakened to what's really going on, and it makes me feel better to be involved in saving our country as I did as a military person from a military standpoint. Now I'm doing it from a citizen standpoint. And that is the reason I started Patriot Cause.
Yeah, well, we are the media nowadays. We do the work
Yes.
that the regular national media refuses to do, because they are all mostly liberal leftists in the
Absolutely.
tank for the left, and all the news that's fit for leftist propaganda is what it is. Now, it's no longer the news that's fit to print. It's only the news that fits the leftist propaganda they want to deliver. And indeed, one of the motivators behind my starting my podcast, which is, of course, more of a niche going for Christians who, the Judeo-Christian foundation of the nation
Absolutely.
is being rotted out from under us. And there are
Yes.
fellow Christians sitting around doing nothing.
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 Yes.
And I remind, you shall be known by your fruits.
Amen.
That means you get off your butt and you do things. Right?
Well, imagine, Joe, when Christ says that these people are going to try or come into this kingdom. And he says, I do not know you. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with Christians, people that think that there are Christians. and they're going to be stopped in their tracks. I do not know you. And that goes across the board, whether you're an everyday person that goes to church, whether you're a government leader, whether you're a politician. And many people don't understand that phrase. It's very simple. If you have a happy life and you're connected with the God that created you, then you're going to put him first. And once you do that, then you're going to realize that the rest of life is a lot better than it ever was when you tried to control your life. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that are influenced by culture, are influenced by the world. They're not influenced by the God that created them. They're not connected. And unfortunately, we have a large percentage of people in the House, in the Senate, even presidents nowadays, right, that claim to be Christians, but don't act like it. And I guarantee you, and the last part I want to say is this: if you become a government person in this world, you have a higher responsibility with God, because you're now a representative of the people of the world. And you're going to be held to a higher responsibility that, just like being a minister. I was a minister for a year, and I understood that. I understood that as a minister, I am going to be held to a higher responsibility as a citizen, as a minister, as a congregation controlling individual. So what we're dealing with is we're dealing with the culture, the evil of the world influencing and changing the mindsets of millions of Americans in this world. And that's really how simple it is.
And that's the impetus behind this show. There are so many Christians that have allowed the world to bend and reshape them. And they are taking parts of the Bible out of context. I don't know why I always screw up that word these days. Context, okay. Not contest. Context, to try to reshape God in the Bible to fit their worldview rather than the way it's supposed to be. You're voting biblically, being a biblical person, and the Bible shaping your worldview. I'm sorry, Joseph Robinette Biden, but I am a real Catholic. You are not.
Not. Absolutely.
And the reason why the ChristiTutionalist Politics book came out this year, and I will have a part 2 next year to shape the election, to hopefully reawaken people faith that you've gone astray. And here's where we need to come together on those things we should all agree in as Christians. Here's just the biblical reason why. And people have forgotten. Like, render unto Caesar does not mean
Caesar's. Yep.
It does not mean allow a communist government. It doesn't mean turn over all your Christian duties to the government. Being your brother's keeper is a personal duty.
Yes.
Allow having the government have Biden steal from Eve to give to Steve is not fulfilling your charitable responsibility. That is a whole different thing. Jesus was not a socialist. And I go through in my articles, I go through in my book, all those reasons why you're distorting scripture, and it doesn't work that way. Right? And like I said, I've been on cold medicine, so
No
I'm
problem,
all
sir.
dry. And for those watching at JLenardDetroit, my YouTube or Rumble channel, you can see I had to pull a Marco Rubio there. And then I lost my, because you had mentioned communism. I call them fascocrats. And here's why. There are literally 28 planks of the National Socialist Deutschland Arbeiter Party in today's Democrat platform.
Yep.
You can look that up. It's not hyperbole. It's not speculation. And the difference now is that this is not the 1930s, where the Nazi socialists, who later became known as fascists, were fighting the Moscow-based communists from Russia for the struggle to control Germany at that time. Today, socialist, communist, fascists, there is really no difference. You can bring up the Nazi Social platform, Communist Manifesto, and the Democrat platform and look at them, and they are all saying the same things in slightly different words with the same goal. It is just, it doesn't matter if it's the black banner, the red banner, or the pink polka dotted bikini.
It's all the same
banner.
Yeah.
It's all the same today. But I thereby swear the most proper term, though, is fascocrats because of, again, I mean, look what they're doing with the FBI. It is the Gestapo. Look what Antifa and BLM, Black Line Marxists, or Burn, Loot, Murder is doing. They are the stormtroopers. It is all 1930s Germany all over again if people will just open their eyes to see it. So fascocrats to me is the more appropriate label, but I know everybody still uses communist as the term. But again, there's no real difference in this day and age, a hill being a difference in this day and age between them. It's just which banner they're marching under, which ruling elite has their boot on us all, right?
No, absolutely. So I want to explain something to your audience here. It's very simple how the logic works. And the logic doesn't come from science. It doesn't come from biology, all of that stuff, which we deal with every day. You know, I'm not a man, I'm a woman, that kind of stuff, right? So, but here's how simple it is. If the leftists can create a utopia on the world, then Jesus Christ doesn't have to come back. And what are you talking about? Well, you know, if man and our governments across this globe can make it, you know, a paradise, a utopia, then why would Jesus Christ want to come back? The reason he's coming back is because we can't. It's impossible. But see, that's the mindset. And this is what makes me very happy every day, even in the times that we're living in, because we know the truth. We know that the world will never, ever match the kingdom of God. And if you don't understand that, you're living in misery. You may be happy with your boats and your cars and your houses, but at some point, it's all going to be taken away.
Yeah, that is correct.
And yeah,
Because
Yep,
not
and
only do
but to
people
see the
not,
government, the government is doing this in our country. They're putting this utopia idea, climate change, no oil, letting all these people into the country. It all adds up. See,
yeah,
they in their mind, if we can just shift everything, but you can't. The reason you can't is because America is a free country, a truly free country, the only country that has ever existed with a individual heart, created by God through the Christian movement into this country. And unless you understand that, you're going to deal with the politicians and all this stuff that's going on. And you're going to be like sheep in the gate, right?
yeah. And the reason why America is in decline is the very same reason. These people don't understand basic economics. They also don't understand, none of them have
Right.
taken a psychology course to understand human nature.
Yes.
That's the problem. That's why there can never be a utopia or total peace on earth, because of human nature. We're a warring species, have been forever. God, so spare me this nonsense. Communism, fascism, socialism always fails because of human nature, but there will always be the next dictator wannabe
Yep.
who tries to climb to power, and too many people are complacent and allow it to happen, is why it keeps happening over and over and over and over all throughout history. And now it's only slightly different because of the United States founded the way
Right.
it was.
Yes.
And there are people trying to undermine it. Let's move on to some political things, because again,
Sure.
those watching
Absolutely.
on at JLenardDetroit, YouTube, and Rumble, we can see your term limits now shirt and
Yep.
your Convention of States flag in the background. I
Absolutely.
support Convention of States also. I don't buy this rhino convenient argument that it'll be a runaway convention and you're going to lose your gun rights. Spare me. That's the rhinos who, and CNOs too, conservatives in name only, who like things the way they are, want to keep things the way they are too. I also don't say uniparty. It is deep state. CNOs, rhinos, fascocrats all make up the deep state. There are plenty of real Republicans fighting in the Republican Party, that it is not just one big uniparty. And if you think it is, if you think complain, what are you doing to make a difference? Are you a delegate? If you are not a delegate, then you have no real say what's going on in the party. You're part of the problem. Time to become part of the solution. You can't fight from the bleachers. Scream all you want at the officials, the coaches, the players, the cheerleaders, the doggone water boy. It doesn't matter unless you're willing to come out of those stands, suit up, and actually fight to change the outcome of the game. And Convention of States is the only thing that's going to get us term limits and a balanced budget amendment. I'd like to see the 17th Amendment repealed, because that bastardized.
That's the worst one of ever. All of them. That's number one. That should never have happened. And the thing about Convention of States that people don't understand is this. And you got to think about this, is unfortunately, we have to deal with the Constitution and the way it works. When I say unfortunately, is because the left and the Democrats don't recognize that. But because we do, we have to force it. We have to to put that in there. So if you have not seen the 2023 Convention of States simulation with 49 states, delegates that came to Williamsburg, Virginia this year to go through that process, it's a simulation process on how to amend the Constitution. And you had all these politicians from the states working back and forth to determine what is right for the people, not what is right for the dictatorship or the government. We have over 6 million people involved in Convention of States, whether they're donors, supporters, leaders, etc. 6 million. And think about it. If you took all the Antifa people, all of the people that are protesting, they don't even come close to what Convention of States is doing.
And they're not interested.
You're not going to see this because the media will not display this. We are presenting ourselves as freedom Americans, understanding that we have a Constitution and Article 5 allows us to use that Constitution, right, to circumvent the federal government, to put in place rules and guidance to change what is going on in America with the 3 different clauses. 1 is the budget, like you're talking about, balance the budget. 2, term limits, get the, those people that do 40, 50 years out. And the 3rd one is reduce the size of the federal government, which is the major one. Because the founding fathers knew if the government got so much power, then the people in the country will have no say in how the federal government operates. And this is where we're at. So the Convention of States is not just a organization or a movement for a X number of people. It's a movement for all Americans, for this whole country. And I guarantee you that many people don't understand that this is the only way. There is no other way to change this country, to have a chance of going back to the republic that was created, unless we use Convention of States. It's that simple.
I don't disagree. There's more than one way to skin a cat on the reduction of the deep state, but we've had chances and it's never happened because of the makeup of the Congress. We can have Jesus Christ himself come down from heaven to become the president of the United States under our system, unless if Jesus's party has 60 members in the majority of the Senate, he'll be filibustered.
Yep.
So the convention
goes back to where you're talking about human beings are evil. We're born that way. We're selfish. It's me, me, me. And Christ never, ever promoted this me, me, me. Matter of fact, he attacked the hell out of it. And he said, no, see, it's not about you. It's about the glory of God. And he takes care of you, not a government, not the world that you live in. And this is what we're dealing with. What we're dealing with is over the last 100 years, specifically 1920s with Woodrow Wilson. This is when all this stuff started, this socialism, this, this idea. I get it, Joe, I get it that these people wanted to improve the lives of Americans. I understand their, what they want to do, but this is not how it's done. Individual freedom and free markets and progressing your life to produce, which is what Christ told us. Produce, go out there, do great things. It's being completely demolished by the government socialist system that is incorporating themselves since 1920 in this country.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly disagree. I'm going to grant grace to some of them having good intentions.
Yes, I
and
understand.
just being stupid that it doesn't work. It never has, it never will. And the greater good argument they prefer means the more people actually having greater good, not equity. Equity means everybody is down to a base.
Right.
Greater good means more people are lifted up, and that is our
Yes.
American system. But
Absolutely.
a lot of them don't have good intentions. They play on the good intentions of the other for their own power and control goals and aims, their own self-aggrandizement, their own self-enrichment, and all those things. So, yeah, I mean, like I discussed Norton v. Shelby in one of my episodes about Supreme Court ability to tear down some of these agencies, but it took decades. It will take decades to undo it, but we need to start to act upon those things, and convention states is the most needed thing now, because if we don't get control of this budget, we don't have much longer to go.
No.
Cloward and Piven.
Yes, know all about them. Yes, absolutely. Great,
Yes,
great example.
Discussed
Great
them
example.
many times, and that's what's going on. We are being bankrupted. This nation will not survive much longer once we hit the $40 trillion mark, if we can even survive to that point. And we're getting closer and closer. So thanks, Gunny, for stopping by. Tell us again, the website is what?
You can go to thepatriotcause.com, or you can go to any podcast, virtually any podcast app, and look up the Patriot Cause and listen to the Gunny and the great patriots that I have on the show. I have politicians, I have people running for offices, I have military leaders, generals, etc. I had Tommy Tuberfield came on my show not too long ago. You know, so I'm trying very hard to get the true leaders of this country, not the politicians, not the swamp, as a lot of people say it, but the people that are actually doing things, like the U.S. flag shirt guy, those kind of things, and reaching out to people going, guess what, Joe, really, there is hope. The reason there's hope is because there are using these internet platforms, which are not controlled today by the federal government, to pass the word, just like you're doing, so that we can understand what's really happening. Because I don't watch TV at all. I don't listen to CNN, Fox, none of them. I don't need to, because I can get the truth from podcasts and internet.
The left
what's
is
going
trying.
on.
The left, we cannot let the left get through the stupid internet regulations. They put nice flowery names on it to make it sound, our intention is to make sure the internet is free for everybody. No, your aim is power and control, so you can shut down people's First Amendments, like we're already seeing.
One of the best thing that has ever happened, Joe, in this country is Elon Musk buying Twitter.
Yeah.
Absolutely the best. And they hammer him every day and say, you're not freedom of speech or whatever. No, I am. You're the ones that
Yeah.
are, that are refusing to believe that I have changed this major platform across the world
Yeah.
so people can talk
And
against you.
Elon's not perfect. He's still
No, absolutely
somewhat
not.
liberal by his own admission. I'm not
Absolutely.
saying that.
I agree.
That he has said, like Reagan before him, I didn't leave the Democratic Party, it left me. But he's not a Republican. He has not joined the Republican Party. He is still a moderate Democrat, as he defines himself.
Understand.
So,
But he
but what
does
he's
understand
yeah,
the First Amendment.
on
I
this
really believe
issue,
that.
on this issue, he's absolutely 100% right. And we see now the hearings with the leaders of the Ivy League talking
Yep.
about free speech. I'm an absolute free speech guy. I've written on it many times. Yelling fire in the crowded theater is a moronic example. It's
Yep.
irrelevant. It's not free speech. Opinion is. I can hate people with gray beards all day long. For those watching on YouTube, Rumble, whatever, Gunny has a gray beard. So I can say, I hate people with gray beards all day, all night, 24/7, all I like. I'm free to hate people with gray beards. I'm not allowed to incite people to violence against people with gray beards.
That's the First Amendment.
There's
Absolutely.
the line.
But that's not what the left does. The left does the exact opposite. They want you to attack these people.
Yes.
I mean, we got politicians, we got, the BLM, all them. They want you to attack people that have free speech.
So they have, you cannot go to violence yourself. You cannot make a call, an incitement to violence yourself, or you cannot directly also threaten. Somebody ought to do something about this guy on my show with that gray beard. I'm saying that in jest now, of course, but that's what you cannot commit fraud, incitement, or call to violence. Make threats.
Right. So
that's not speech.
Final message. I was a Marine. I was a Marine drill instructor, and I used to use this quote all the time with, recruits in the Marine Corps and Marines. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. You get it, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, I says, you have no more feelings. You're in the Marine Corps. I have the thickest skin on the planet, but there's millions of Americans that are triggered by anything, whatever it is. So this is what the issue is the politicians and the leaders of these radical communist world are saying, you can't attack their feet. I'm not attacking their feelings. I'm just speaking. That's the difference.
Right. And
thank you, Joe.
Silence is not violence, and violence is not speech. And and all that. Yes. Thank you again for coming. I appreciate it. We could go for 3 hours, but mine is not a 3-hour show. So thanks.
No problem, again. Joe. Hey, let's stay connected. We can do this more often. Absolutely.
Sounds good. Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via TerrorStrikes.info/shop. And please tune in to Savage Unfiltered podcast, of which I am a co-host, and be sure to check out more about today's discussion at TheLibertyBeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. Indeed, just me on the podcast side end of things. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, as I know you have over 168.9 million plus podcasts out there you could choose from. Thank you again so much for tuning into mine. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics podcast and Savage Unfiltered. Maybe even go back a few years and dig up some old The Patriot angles. Share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.